Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I know, I've been gone for a while. It's weird being back, but I miss this dearly. I don't get to have these conversations as often anymore, and it's always a good time. So let me get right to it and introduce my guest for today, Deanna Divine, a Galactic Shaman. Oh, I said it right. I mess up that word always. Multidimensional Channel and Soul Guide, and a podcaster as well, which we'll get into. As you know, we'll get into all that as we go through here. But first things first, how you doing today, Deanna?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you, Jeremy.
I'm glad you could join me. As soon as you wanted to match with me, I was like, looked at your profile. I was like, oh, I could definitely have a conversation with this one. This is easy.
Yes,
But,
so many paranormal and so many rabbit holes. I love going into them. So wherever you want to take me.
start off with the same question I ask everybody starts off. What made you go down the paranormal supernatural road in life?
Yeah, it's not something that necessarily I was looking for. I think it was just evolve in that direction. It really started, I think, when I had all kinds of interesting experiences when I was a kid. I grew up in Soviet times and then in Israel and, haunted houses and all of that. But the biggest experience was for me when I was 14 years old, and we were on the bus stop in Israel, and this voice started basically telling me to leave the bus stop. And I was resisting it, and it kept on yelling. And I grabbed my friend, and we turned around the corner, and the whole bus stop just blew up. And that was the first terrorist bombing, actually, in Israel. Israel, this is 1994. There's a lot of things happening in Israel, but bus bombings were not yet a norm of the ones we know it of today. And so through my teenagehood and then later in my 20s, it's just I started feeling energy. I started having these experiences, so to speak, beyond the veil. And I just continued to follow my curiosity. And that took me to experiment a lot with plant medicine, being in different places around the world, like jungles of Peru and Colombia. And so paranormal is part of my life. It's normal. It's not para anymore. It's how I live and how I interact with these different realms and beings beyond on the other side that often interact with me or I interact with them. And at this point, I'm also able to channel these different languages of these different species from the galaxy as well, which are also part of us. We're not separate from them. So yeah, it's just something that's been evolving for the last 25 years. And this year, I actually released a book, finally sharing my journey. It's called Mastering Quantum Creation, where I go into my journey, but also discuss what is quantum, what are the different galactic species, and my story, my galactic origin story that I've remembered through doing a lot of work and remembering my past lives, and now help others as well to do this type of quantum healing and deeper through regression work and other work.
So much to touch on there. But actually, first things first. Start off. I want to go back to the because you mentioned living in a haunted house, but you didn't give me any details on that, and I love details on that.
I
So I'm
didn't
dying
live
to
in
hear.
one. I
Oh,
visited a bunch when I was a kid. We were in Israel. We loved haunted houses or abandoned houses, I would say. And then within the abandoned houses, as kids, we would play and we had experiences. Yeah.
oh, I guess haunted houses I guess are normal anywhere. But actually, with everything that happens in Israel, I would imagine there's a lot of restless spirits. So,
Yeah, bunch. Yeah. I mean, there's restless spirits everywhere.
well, yeah.
now,
I mean,
now,
trauma though.
yeah, exactly. And I've had experiences even here, upstate New York, in different places. I've interacted with spirits, and I've actually helped many spirits to cross to the other side. That's part of some of the work that I do. And I can even share a story on 9/11. There's a spirit that just connected with me last year from 9/11 site. And so I've been working in that area a lot too. So and what a bigger thing that I actually just officially posted about on my social media on 9/11 because I got her permission to share the story. So like I said, it's part of my now it's part of my norm. But when I was a kid, I was just tinkering like everyone else.
Yeah, of course. And a 9/11 goes, so that's interesting. I mean, and
Hmm.
it's funny you keep mentioning New York. I'm like, wait a minute, upstate New York. I'm like, I'm from almost upstate New York. Like that's I'm like that's a coincidence. I I'm like, all right, that's so apparently we have more in common. My hmm, a question about that after the show goes off because I don't like to give out people's locations when we're on live, but so where to go from there even. So when did you start work? When did you start actually exploring the paranormal side of like life? Like when did you actually start like wanting to look into it and see what you could do?
Yeah, I think when I was 20 years old, that's when the first time I had a Reiki initiation, as they call it, an experience. And it was actually in Israel. I was in US already for 6 years. I couldn't go back. I had to serve the army. So there was a lot of situations there. And I ended up finally coming back home. And my mom at the time got into Reiki and she was always interested in healing. And yeah, she brought me to this Kabbalah woman who was at this beautiful place in Galilee Sea, where basically Jesus did all his miracles, right? So there's some interesting synchronicity there. And that's why I had my first experience with my sister, where this woman did her magic, and I started feeling these currents of energy. And I was like, whoa, like, what is this? And pretty much from that point on, everything started becoming different because I started feeling things in a way I've never felt before. The energy, the of the people, the energy of the animals. I wanted to touch every pet and bird and trees. Like I just, I would get these like tingles of energy through my body. I was feeling the energy coming out of my hands. Like things just started getting activated. So it became real. And so I was always a curious child and very fearless. I just started exploring, and that took me into so many different places of exploration, like the shamanic path of exploration, and other paths, and traveling around the world. I've been to over 50 countries, so just
Wow.
that experience too. Yeah, so I've been a curious soul in this lifetime and in many other lifetimes, and I remember now all my lifetimes, the primary ones on earth and off earth. So now I understand it all comes from, my soul has done this before. Like, not my first rodeo. And for many probably who are listening to the show and resonating, we all had experiences and we've trained to interact with those realms, with those energies. It's not, we've been always questioning this matrix reality. So it's just a matter of really going down that rabbit hole and accepting it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I worked with a Reiki master a couple years ago for like a good 6 7 months, and so the Reiki initiation, yeah, that definitely opened my eyes to something I didn't think was real. I even as a paranormal lover, paranormal podcaster, I still had a hard time believing in like the energy work. I had a hard time believing in Reiki and all these things, and I would. And until it happens to you, I guess everybody basically is that way until it happens to you, and then you're just like, oh my god, I actually can feel this, and this person is on the other side of the country, and I can feel them working on me. That is insane. It blew me away, and I mean, I actually got to start working with her again. It's because like you feel so much lighter, you feel so much more happiness, so much more just calm after a Reiki session. It's phenomenal. Like it really is phenomenal. They literally pull the darkness out of you. You could feel it. Like I've been sitting in my chair, like getting tears rolling down my eyes after having the darkness pulled out of me, and it's one of the greatest healing experiences I ever had in my life. So
Yeah. I mean, energy work is incredible. I don't call it Reiki anymore because it evolved into so much more multidimensional for me. So the work I do is much more even in depth, across space and time, but also through all the different cords and implants. So it's much more in depth than just sending Reiki or energy in the distance. It's a little more involved. I recalibrate people's fields, their geometry. So it's just because I'm so much more now, with experience, attuned to energy fields and light bodies and many more layers of things that we can't see with a spectrum of our eyes. But essentially, we are quantum. And what does that mean? we are expression of the source, but we are quantum is this invisible energy force, right? That is beyond the spectrum of our eyes. And that field, the quantum field has all the information of our, of our soul, the Akashic records, which are now also helping people to read. And and when we tap into this quantum field of information, like you said, there's no real distance in time. That's an illusion that we have in this matrix reality. All the information is available. So if we quantum and we part of the hologram, what not what stops us from doing a session with someone who's in Australia? Nothing. They actually receive just the same benefit as though they're sitting right here in front of you. And again, with all the client work I've ever done, it's very evident. And in quantum physics, they talk about what's called quantum entanglement. I don't know if you ever heard of that
Oh yeah.
concept, where it's like one particle that is vibrating here in this room, and then Jeremy, you have another particle. They entangle to each other. They vibrate in the same type of way because we entangled. So we actually, because we're part of hologram, um, we are constantly entangled to each other, and especially when we do healing work for each other. So we are just reminding each other how to come back into that holographic reality. So yeah, it's all real. It incredible health benefits and other benefits for people, although we can't
Oh
claim anything, but people having transformational journeys. And that's all that matters, that if you're able to shift and transform energy and transmute. So when we talk about spirits, they too, like, when they move to the other side, because I do a lot of quantum healing hypnosis, I move people through their lifetimes, future, past, whatever. And, there's always that completion moment. The soul moves to the other side. And then there is that in between space where the soul chooses its next lesson. But if the soul hasn't fully passed on to the other side and kind of stuck in this liminal space that some call bardo, it needs rehabilitation. It needs to like repiece itself back. And that's where many kind of shamans and people who help spirits to be released, like on the land, that's what we do. We transmute in essentially the soul back into the light, or back into its kind of state where it's not stuck in this liminal space. So that's sometimes I do that. I get called to place around the world to recalibrate the land and activate the land and do like earth grid work. But also sometimes when I do that, that involves also release of spirits. So, Native Americans, 9/11 site, it just happens to be one of those places because I'm in New York, and other places around the world where it's just, we had experiences on earth, but those souls just haven't fully transitioned and they just need a little help.
yeah, of course. I mean, I've, I've had a lot. I guess so. Helping spirits cross over. It's. I mean, it's a work that unfortunately doesn't pay. But if it did, it'd be great because there are so many of them out there that need to cross over. It's ridiculous.
It's a
I
service
live.
work.
It really is. I mean, I live in a freaking possessed house. So I mean, if
Mm.
these two want to move on, or if they might have already on their own. I honestly don't know. I haven't. It hasn't been any weird stuff going on lately. So maybe they're either at peace right now or they're moved over. I don't freaking know. But so let's get into it. Okay, you keep saying Matrix and hologram, and I'm dying for you to. I mean, every time you say it, there's a smile on my face, if you notice, and I'm dying for you to, because that is actually one of my favorite conspiracy theories. Is the idea of a Matrix or a false reality. That or simulation theory. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Simulation theory. Like that's one of my favorite conspiracy theories out there because it seems like it really could be true. I mean, it just there's so much. I mean, I've heard of glitches in the Matrix as well, and that's a whole nother topic that we could spend an hour talking about. But what do you mean when you keep saying hologram Matrix? Like, I just want to see if we're on the same level with this idea.
I mean, we all created this in some ways and another. Some of it was created also by other beings. So within the Milky Way specifically, so just like backtrack, right? Let's start with the source. So there was this field of oneness and energy that is just existent, right? Let's say it's just blackness. And then this energy just wanted to, at some point, instead of just being, it wanted to learn. And the only way for it to learn, it had to divide itself. It had to create some sort of way of learning about consciousness. And so it created plus and minus, and it created feminine versus masculine, and other way. It's not just plus and minus, but we'll just simplify and say it is. So this, and it created different, so it's split out like branches, right? And it created different universes and um, different expressions of how it can learn. And one way it can learn through this energy is just through being in more physicality, but it can be in different physicalities. So let's take this universe. It's really a phantom universe. And when we say phantom universe, it's actually not as close to this original source as we think we are. Other universes are just a bit closer than we are. And then let's focus on within our universe on Andromeda Galaxy. Why I say Andromeda Galaxy? Because it's actually a galaxy the closest to us from the Milky Way. You can actually see it in the night sky, like in November, December. It's beautiful. Andromeda Galaxy is actually where we started on many of us actually came from Andromeda Galaxy and when I'm saying us, like soul light beings, not in a physical form. Like,
Yeah.
let's go just back to energy. In Andromeda Galaxy, the creator beings wanted to create physicality, but it was too high of a frequency. So they basically, we don't fully know how many dimensions Andromeda Galaxy. Let's say 24, but I think it's more than that. Um, and when I say dimensions, what does that mean? It's almost like, think of it like you have a house. Within the house, you have different rooms, and one room vibrates a little more intensely than another room. So you kind of like walk through the house and you have access to these different rooms. So that's the different dimension. It's just different rooms and different accesses points that you have.
Yeah.
So so people, when they talk about paranormal, they're like, "Oh, I tapped into the fairies or I tapped into the angels." They all exist here simultaneously because they're in the same house, but they just in different dimensions. I think
Which, yeah,
you
I
hear a
mean,
bit of a noise in the background. I'm not sure. Is that your kid?
oh, yeah, sometimes I like to be annoying. Uh, but, and it's funny because it's funny you mentioned the Fae and angels, because, I mean, that's another theory. That's one of the theories that people have for Bigfoot or Sasquatch, is that it's interdimensional, that it's ultra terrestrial, that it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
it's not full flesh
So
and bone.
so I'll just move us from the Andromeda Galaxy into the Milky Way, because these angels, they are actually Andromedans. They actually came, like the angels as we think of angels, they're just basically highly evolved beings that are not even from the galaxy, that created this galaxy. And they created this galaxy as a simulation. It's a copy of Andromeda Galaxy, but with 12 dimensions. So it's like smaller game, right? Because in this game, if everything is a game, back to the simulation, in this game, they could actually experience physicality in the way they couldn't over there. And they could create humanoid life.
I mean, I haven't heard that before, and that actually would make sense. I mean, as far as I know, simulations, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that they think simulations were created by extraterrestrials that we live in. But I mean, I guess that kind of, I mean, you almost could put Angels from the Andromeda Galaxy into that category if you
Well,
wanted to. If you wanted to call them aliens, because I mean, I guess they kind of would
Well,
be
they are.
extraterrestrials.
They are the
Yeah.
creator beings. So we have to go back to the creator beings, because ETs, as we talk about ETs from different star systems, they kind of, um, again, different dimensional beings, but they kind of part of this co-creator group, right? There's different star seed groups specifically for Earth. Earth is much later a game of consciousness that got created. We are a mishmash of many stars systems. Like our DNA alone has over 25 races. Like our genome is a combination of 25 races of the galaxy. But I'm just giving, I zoomed out so far out just to give you a sense of like when we say matrix and who created this reality and how this is a game. Like this game's been created by, yeah, beings that we call angels, beings that are not even from this galaxy, who create universes.
On top of my butt.
It's
Which, as much as I dread this question, I have to ask it. So, I mean, obviously, there's a creator. We all know that there had to be a creator of some kind. How do you feel about how Earthlings have distorted it and made it into a power grab that we call religion?
oh, religion. Well, humans. So okay, so also let's backtrack. In this other, within the Milky Way, different extraterrestrial beings, when they incarnate as a soul into a body, they usually always remember their past lives. They remember who they are. They remember all the experiences the soul has had, because the soul is like a software, right? This is a hardware. So the soul collects information through time, and this soul, and it's like a software that uploads and downloads information to the source, right? The creator, however we want to say, the ultimate creator. So if you are born here on Earth and you in multidimensional amnesia and you don't remember your past lives, you don't remember anything, first of all, you don't have that type of footing that you would have as a being elsewhere. So religion is a system that is here to kind of give us a sense and hope, but it's highly manipulated system, because there is, whatever religion you look at, there's always like intermediary. There's a priest, there's a rabbi, someone who from one perspective is l- giving you some sense of connection to this quantum field or whatever we want to call the source, but they always telling you how to, or they dictating, you're born of sin and therefore you have to repent. And it's like, no, we are angelic beings at the core. We just forgot that we are. We really have. And this is part of this game on Earth specifically. So when I talk about Matrix, yes, there there is like a game within a game, and earthly game is to actually be born with this multidimensional amnesia where we don't remember. And can we remember? Yes, because I've been remembering and I'm helping others to remember. And that's the key, like for us to get back into memory of who we really are at the essence and what journeys we've had as a soul and aspects of ourselves that are available through space and time. But religions was born to control the populace. I mean, at the end of the day, even like back, I'm just, I channel what's called light language or source language, which religion coined and demonized as speaking tongues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what does speaking tongues assumes? Oh, some entity enters and makes you say these things, and you speak tongues that are outside of you, right? And it's like, oh no, like something's wrong with you. You consorting with the devil. And then that kind of, all of those things that were created to really suppress us, disempower us, disconnect us from our own abilities, from our own channel, and put all these labels on what we can and we cannot do. But when we strip away the religion and strip away this push and pull conflict that they created, which is completely, fake, just to keep us in a box, when we strip that away and we really start digging deeper, because we have all the answers, we have the frequency of knowing, because we are part of the source, then we become much more powerful. They didn't want us to be powerful. So hence all of the control systems put in place.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same level with that, which we are. So that's up. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this light language, the source language. Where does it? I mean, where does it really like come from, and why?
Mm.
Why does it let us heal? Like, why does it wake us?
Great question. So, source language or light language, well, the official name for it is glossolalia. Like if you look up on Google, glossolalia, which from Greek it means like expression, like it's a expression of spirit, right? And it's this phenomenon where spirit expresses itself. So if we are the spirit, we are the source too. Our higher self can express itself. So back to our soul that had, experienced reality before it came on Earth, and it also connect. And because we have all these, DNA and genome of the galaxy, we are like an antenna for all this information that's available in the Milky Way. So this experience, I was already kind of full on my shamanic journey. I did a lot of plant medicine work. It was like, I thought I knew it all. And then I had an experience, Jeremy, which is really interesting experience. It was like I was meditating in Adirondack Mountains during a hike with a friend. And I one place that I was like really still kind of blocked was my throat chakra. Like I was not as confident, especially about singing. And my friend was like, "No, you gotta sing, you gotta sing." So we sat down on these beautiful rocks, and I started seeing, as we were humming, I started seeing these beautiful geometries in my mind's eye. And these geometries kept on saying, it was like this golden light. And they were like, "Just let us through, let us through." And then I had an experience where it was almost like this energy took over me. I was just observing it, but I had no control of it. And these incredible tones came out of me. It was like an opera singer, like, and they were so loud. They were like filled the whole valley. And my husband, who was like further out, he said his knees buckled when he heard them. It was like he's like angels were singing. And I was completely not in control the first time of that experience. When I came out of it, about like 3 minutes after, my friend was crying, and I was like, "Whoa, like, what was this?" And so I came home and I started working with someone who's a musician, and she was the first one who's like, "Oh, Diana, this is called light language." Someone in the 70s actually called it as light language. It's the language of the information, but it's not languages like English or any other languages. You know how you know exactly word to word what it means? This language is multidimensional. It's quantum. It is light, but it's also sound. I call it source language because I was shown it's more than just light, and it has a lot of information. It has a lot of these codes in it. And we are conduits to it because our soul knows it. So everyone, and I'm really passionate about it. I have a source language institute. I've helped lots of people open up to it. It's like a channeling ability, but it's not necessarily channeling in English. Like we think of channeling as in like just saying English words, but actually it's channeling with different sounds, because sounds are frequencies. It could be clicks, it could be um just words that are very pure vowels. It could be just singing, and I've learned now to trace them, and I can see usually where the the origin of the frequencies. And some more often enough, it's galactic. It's specific galactic race that speaks that type of language. And there's so many dialects, of course. Sometimes it's angelic. It's sometimes it's fairy. Sometimes it's dragon. We have access to all of it. So usually starts with the language you know the best from the system you came from, or maybe from Atlantis, Lemuria, and then it expands from there. So yeah, we all have it. We don't have to be born with it. It's something you open up to. It's something you remember. You're not learning this like in school, like we learn Spanish or whatever. You just have to open to it and allow. Like like when we were kids and we were like babbling and
Hmm.
making these like weird sounds. And we're so playful and innocent and we're just like in it. In some ways, this is light language too, because it's innocence, it's pure, it's limitless. And a lot of this is about dropping back into being a kid and just playing and allowing sounds to come through you. And why is it important? Because right now, this language, like we always talk about telepathy, right? That's the future communication. And we get in there, but really, I believe source language, light language is the next thing. And I have been, for me, this experience happened 8 years ago and I became a teacher of it. But I'm always saying, I'm not teaching you, I'm just facilitating for you the experience to open to it. And now it's happening much more. Like many more people are opening naturally to it, sometimes just by hearing it or like these, allowing themselves to express these sounds. And these sounds are incredible. It's like Reiki, but imagine sound Reiki. So when I say things, they penetrate down, these codes penetrate down to your cellular memory, to your DNA. They activate and shift the energy in the way just with hands alone, like it's not as deep. But when I say things, it's deep, it's fast, and it's incredible. So yeah, I use it all the time. It's like my part of my day. My kid speaks it, my whole family. It's like very normal. and and hope everyone at some point will really connect to it as well.
Yeah, which I mean, I trust me, I have a 10-month-old, so it's I hear her babble every day of my life, and it's funny you say that because it's kind of like it kind of is like hearing her babble takes all your worries away in the world. It's kind of like it's a language coming through telling you just calm down, everything's okay. Like, and it's I mean, it feels like she's almost trying to say to us, like that's what she's trying to say to us, but she can't. So that's just the babbles of
Yeah, right? If we really like tune to what is she's trying to say, it's very the vowels are pure because I believe we were talking about matrix, but I believe like religion, language is manipulated. Like English is a manipulated language. Like even the words we say, like we say, it's a death language. We say weak and, right? So like there's always like an assumption that something is ending or goodbye. It's like we always saying goodbye. It's like a death language. We're always like separating ourselves. And so, like, I even love Spanish more because we say "hasta luego," see you later. So it's a different type. But English, if you really start drilling into linguistics of English, the frequency of English sometimes is very low and manipulated. It depends how we use it. But when your kid is babbling, like she doesn't have any of those controls in place. She's just expressing herself. And that's kind of it is light language in that way because it's pure expression of the heart. And you understand it through feelings. Like you don't need to know the words, but somehow you understand, right? What she's trying to say. Like what
it's
how do you understand that?
it's funny because like if the other two kids are fighting and like she comes in the room, she'll let out like this like little like high pitched like scream, like not like a mad scream, but just like a little high pitched like ah. And I mean I can't even do it as a pitch she does, but when she lets it out, it like kind of calms the kids down, and it almost I mean I would say it almost sounds like an angelic tone out of her voice when she does it, because it's like and it just calms the kids down immediately, and I'm just like and they either start laughing or they just sit there like
Yeah.
what and like what were we fighting about? And it's kind of funny. It's like I kind of picked them out a couple months ago, and I'm like, huh. I'm like, I mean, I'm a big huge fan of the like baby geniuses like theory that before babies can talk, they kind of remember everything from their past lives, and it's all there, and they just can't express what's there. And then once they start talking, like a block goes up. It's like a block in their head just goes down, and they lose that part of their mind.
Yeah, I probably agree with you that that is happening because really by age of 7, they're so solidified and programmed already by us that unfortunately they lose that connection. But when they were little, they're still quite connected and they are baby geniuses for sure. And they are able to bring in frequencies that we can't. So that's kind of the unpeeling process we have to do with ourselves when we reconnect. So like I would go into the forest and all of a sudden, when this process started for me, I was like, I want to connect to the fairies. Like I know in my past life I've worked with fairies, but maybe I can just call them in. So I would tune myself to that frequency of the fairies and kind of just intentionally. So everything is through intention, right? Um, and I would connect to the frequency and I would feel them around me and then I would express them. And they were so playful. They were like, and there's like this playfulness and like this bubbly energy and like I have a smile on my face. I'm like, oh, that's the frequency of fairies. Right? Like, oh, it's like now I can work with it. And then, it developed into like the dragon right? We all have actually dragons that are in our field as well, and I love working with the dragons too. And then like my dragon, she's like very wise, and these like also our guides and kind of support us in that field that we again not always in tune with, but they there. And like, and I was like, if you tune to the language of the dragon, it's like opposite a little bit of the bubbly fairy. It's very deep. It's like hua hia hua ni huntu hin chia humbahi umbaya ia hai shu umba hai hua ma. So it's like very different, right? And you're like, oh yeah, that's
You, you
that's
know, it,
that's
okay,
the dragon.
I got to throw this out there because I just got this from those when you use the fairy language. It was almost like hearing an anime movie like that. But when you do the dragon language, it's almost like hearing Native American language, which
And some
the
people would say Chinese, like, or some Asian language that I don't know.
I mean, I heard it sounded to me like because I there's some symphonic metal music I listen to out of Finland, and
Mhm.
they use Native Americans to actually like record like intros to some of the songs, and that's what instantly came to my mind when you did the dragon voice was like the intro
Mm,
to one of my favorite songs, and I was like, I mean, obviously not the same, but it still like was like right there in that
close
frequency,
to.
right there in that frequency, and I was like, oh, I'm hearing like that's native talk, that's that's it, and it almost would make sense in a way,
Yeah, and then
like
my first language, that was actually 2 languages that started for me, or the Lyran language. You know the movie Avatar? And you know those beings, they're usually blue, but kinda have the feline features? You actually
oh,
can.
I know what lyras are, yeah,
Yeah, well, you can see one, like, in the picture hybrid behind me. That's me, kinda like half human, half, cat feline, and that's really where the humanoid experience in this galaxy Milky Way started. We actually started as in Lyra, and there were 2 races there, the Vegans and the Lyrans. The Vegans are the blue ones, so movie Avatar is portraying them very close. So that was my first language. It was a lot of rolling R's and a lot of very hard centers. So it's like artu eniali rutustai karachia tupua arustumba arkitia sturkua rikia rumbua tiashana urtustuikana. So that's like my kind of the original language that I spoke in my first incarnation in this galaxy. And so that's why I came first. And then with that, it was another language. And when I had a friend listen to it, and they were like, "Oh, that one is like almost like Klingon from Star Trek." I don't know if you're a big Star Trek fan, and it's very
I ain't no Trek. I
yeah.
ain't no Trekkie, but I'm familiar.
Yeah, so you'll hear the difference. So this one is still like kind of softer and more melodic, right? The Lyran, and then the Draco language, which basically the invaders, like the whole Star Wars saga, is really based on the galactic drama that happened between, the Dracos attacking the Lyrans, and that's why we on the soul level love Star Wars, because we kind of like feel the resonance with the story of the empire versus the Jedi and all of that.
I mean,
So
it's funny how much. I mean, people like to say that Hollywood like uses movies to distort the truth and on purpose, and I think it's the opposite.
there's
I
a lot
think
of disclosure happening through
and there
Hollywood.
is. I
Yeah.
mean, if you watch the movie Predator, the director of that, the director of that, not the director, the writer of that, his father was in the army, and he saw things. He saw extraterrestrials that can make themselves disappear completely, and that's where he got the idea for Predator. Like his father telling him these stories about it.
Yeah. And so the Dracos are these basically Lizzies, these like reptilian big beings, 12-foot, very warrior-esque, that were basically conquering territories, and the whole galactic war was kind of from the Draco system. And their language I knew because, long story, I'm not going to go into details. I remembered I was actually married into that alliance. So it was like my native language is Russian, but I know English just as fluently, right? So the Draco came at the same time, and it's very different. It's very like in your throat. It's like kia ku akish ti kincha ku kumpa ki kushka u chi shi kinka ku hachi. I mean, first time I remember that happened to me, I was like, whoa, like my throat is not used to it on the human level, right? Like even to pronounce these things. But then you get used to them. And then I was like, oh, this frequency, yeah, it's very like kind of related to who they are and how, but it has its purposes and why I love to channel it too, because actually from like energy perspective, it clears the energy really well, especially around the heart center and the throat. Like it helps people to open their pathways. So there's beauty in it. So yeah, so it's a fun experiment with a lot of these languages and what I just want to give people like flavor. You might be like, oh, this is crazy and I'm making it up, but then everyone else who is doing it is also making it up, and now there's a big community. Like when this started for me 8 years ago, it was like just growing, but now many more people opening to it, and similarities. Like that's how we kind of know the patterns, the similarities. There's different dialects, but there's
Well,
no end to these languages. Yeah.
I gotta say, I find it fascinating, kind of how all these different languages that you spoke sound like ancient languages that have been on Earth since the beginning of time, and since the beginning of Earth, I should say. But it sounds like all the ancient languages that our languages have developed from. So it makes sense in a way scientifically that
Mhm.
we would that like like some of those I resonated with immediately. I just like you had my full attention. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
The the,
It stirs something up, right? It's
the,
like
the,
it
the
works.
last one you did really got my attention. I was like, what? I was like, why does it sound like? I'm like, why do I sound like I almost felt like my throat moving, like I wanted to
Oh
like
yeah,
puke or
it
something.
works the throat really well.
I, I, I was like, oh, I'm like, that's drawing me in for some reason. I'm like, I can't explain this. I mean, I've been told there's a parallel version of me that's Arcturian and is a celestial star guide on a ship, but which if he wants to come meet me, that'd be freaking awesome, dude. Just saying. But
So the
I
Acturians, so a couple of things about that. Um, well, it could have stirred you up because you might have heard Draco before, and as Acturians were ambassadors in the galaxy, and they were also involved in the war. So it started in Lyra, but because Acturians had also higher tech and weapons, they were trying to protect the Lyrans, and they were involved in this war as well. So everyone is kind of like does not like Dracos. Acturians didn't like Dracos, of course, and they were peaceful ambassadors. Acturians are very much in my circle of friends, a lot of Aquarians because they're very sensitive to frequency. They really understand technology, and they really invested in this experiment called Earth. Like they're like the main five races that kind of really contributed and observing this evolution of humanity right now, and Acturians definitely one of them. So they are an Arcturus system. That's one of the gateways into this Milky Way. There's the Antares gateway in Arcturus. Some say when the soul rests, it goes to Arcturus and rests there. The Arcturians themselves, very technological. So their codes are very brain circuitry oriented. Like, so their language is very fast, just like Andromedan. So like Andromeda is like it's very fast. It's very because they're also in the higher dimensional realms than the other star systems. Acturians similar. They work the brain a lot and give a lot of codes. Yeah, so it makes sense why maybe you reacted the way you did.
it would make sense actually. And okay, with that one, I totally got some like traditional African language like origins coming out of that. Like definitely, that's immediately my brain went. I'm like, sounds like traditional African language, or one of the like a combination of.
Yeah. I mean, probably, yeah, and like there's a combination, right? We always kind of try to associate, like, oh, what is it like sound like on Earth, right? Yeah.
Well, our brains are always going to try to like bring it home to somewhere that we can recognize. Like it's always
Yeah.
going to be whatever.
In the beginning it does.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the deeper you go into it, it's like you don't even try to, because sometimes I channel a transmission and I can channel, I don't know, 10 languages in 5 minutes, and I move through between them. So it's not, I don't, in the moment, my ego is not involved. It's just observing and it's
Yeah.
just flow of information. So I don't think which language is it related to. It's more like it's just a flow. It's a flow of sound and frequency. Yeah.
Which I mean, it makes sense in a way. It really it does. I mean, and they say we only use like part of our brains. I feel like this is part of our brains that we have locked. Like this is a part of the brain that we don't use, is the one that can understand all these different languages, because it's buried in there, as you said. Like we're made up of different races from the stars and beyond in other dimensions. So why wouldn't this be locked in our brain somewhere? Just not unlocked yet. Just it's still locked. Activate. You can activate it by doing spiritual activations and whatnot, but it it's locked until you do that.
Yeah. And it's not like, yes, I agree with that, but it's really through the pineal gland, which is the little gland, that we call the third eye. It is the transmitter and receiver information. So we upload and download information all the time. So when I'm receiving these, I feel this energy. It's almost like my, remember like back in the day, we had those radio station knobs in our car and we would like shift between
Mm-hmm.
and there's like the static and then it gets clear. That's what's really happening. We constantly tune in our radio station to, the clear channel, the clear channel, the clear channel. And so we are kind of like an antenna that's receiving and transmitting. And we like a radio device ourselves. So it's not like the brain synapses are more needed to process the information, and make sense of it and interpret. And again, we don't fully know, but I think the key is to just be, as much of just a conduit to it without trying to control it too much. And I think that's again goes back to being a child, right? Like I don't think your daughter really cares what she says. She just does. and
Oh
then
yeah,
and it's just perfect as it is.
exactly. But well, okay. I mean, we went down a wormhole and a half there, which I love. I do love that. So, I mean, let's go back to your other title here, Galactic Shaman. How is that? How's being a galactic shaman, if I can say these words correctly, different from being a regular shaman? Because I mean, I've had multiple types of shamans on the show before, but I don't think I've ever had one that called himself a galactic shaman. So I'm kind of curious what the difference is.
Yeah, I think, I was studying shamanism and doing all these rituals and working with plant medicine. And I was in the jungles, working with the shamans. And, it's very earth based. So, like a lot of these traditional ceremonies, they vary about the earth, which I love. It's the greatest foundation. Like, we have to learn how to be here first and rooted. When I started experiencing these different frequencies and languages, as I mentioned, then it broadened my perception, and now my work is just much more expanded into the galaxy. So the galactic shaman, someone who's, I believe, is very comfortable in navigating different spaces, different realms, can do work in the quantum field, can clear. So what is a shaman doing? It's muting, right? So I can, a lot of my work is doing the transmutation and recalibrating people's fields and removing the blocks in their fields. And sometimes it's things that happen, on Earth in childhood, ancestral stuff. But sometimes there's stuff in your field that is very ancient and on could have came from, I don't know, from the galactic war. And then you carrying some abandonment stuff from, being kicked out of your Lyran house, and you carrying that feeling through all your lives. So some things get much deeper than that. So a shaman is someone who is navigating that, clear and helping you to come back and heal.
So the galactic basic version of it is basically you're able to go past a point that regular shamans can't go past. Like they can't go back into the pre-Earth life, the
They
pre-Earth.
just don't focus on it as much. They just focus so much on just this experience here, which it really matters at the end. But I think a lot of my quantum healing hypnosis work and other work in the clearings that I do, it's a multidimensional template. So I do focus on the galaxy, and I do focus on how the soul experienced itself before it came to Earth, because all that information is carried within, the blueprint of the soul. So it's like a holistic. It's like we can go to a Western doctor and they like put a patch and they're like, "Oh yeah, you left shoulders hurting. Okay, let's do surgery on the left." Versus if you go to Eastern doctor, they're like, "Okay, let's test your pulse. Let's see the core of the issue. Oh, you have, your grief you carrying is maybe has to do the cancer or the lung issue you have, and it has to do with the grief that you carry in, or like, they go deeper into the core of the issue. So they look at the holistic picture. And I think as I now doing the work with people, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at their whole beingness. And that's kind of the galactic part of it. It's like more fit in, which is just more omnipresent and more expanded.
Which makes sense. I mean, Western medicine is. I literally hate the Western medicine world. They don't know what they're doing anymore, and it's all just now trying to mask everything instead of fixing it. Which, I mean, it's sad. It really is because, oh yeah, just take these pills and you won't feel anything. Don't worry about it. And it's like, why are you trying to numb us all? Why are you trying to numb us all to the point where we can't feel anything? I mean, and then that's what causes other sociological issues as well. And it's just a whole like, why? Why can't we be like the rest of the world and actually look for the reason that we're hurting instead of making us sit in the ER for 12 hours here and then just giving us a shot of something or giving us a pill to make us feel better? Like, why? It boggles my mind. It really does. But I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole because I've gone down that rabbit hole before in the show and it's gone 2 hours. So
You
let's
already
not go.
Yeah, you already got it. We make choices, right? We just have to question. We have to question
Yeah.
everything. We have to question the care we get. We have to get to the root of the physical manifestation. So just because you are hurting right now in that area, what is the core of it? What are the things you don't really want to look at? Like, where did it start on the energy level before it became a physical disease? Because what is disease? Disease is lack of ease. So how do I come back into flow, into ease, into surrender? How do I kick more into parasympathetic system? So there's many layers here, emotions, a lot of things that I help people to, sift through and clear. And then the physical realigns, because I believe we're not broken. We are all perfect. We're just out of alignment. And so how do we, between the environmental pollutions to 5G towers to EMFs to everything, we constantly we live in a noise. And because we live in a noise, our bodies, our original blueprints are misaligned. So that's my role, is to bring everyone back into alignment, and as much as I can. But it takes work also on the person side to do the inner work, because that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We are out of alignment. I fully can feel that. I can feel that every day of my life, and it just you listen to the people around you, you watch the news, and just the whole Earth is just so far off alignment, and it seems like we're kind of getting to a point where we're going to have to slide back into it, or things are going to get bad. So, I mean, I don't know. I keep hearing the year 2027 pop up on my show constantly with my past guests. I don't know why exactly. No one seems to know really the exact why. I've heard theories, but I since we're hitting towards the end here, I'll ask this now. What where do you think we're headed? Where do you think humanity as a whole is headed in the near future? Like, what's going to become of us?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we constantly choosing on a personal level and collective level what we call the highest timeline, meaning a reality where, it's the golden age where we finally find alignment. How long it's going to take us fully to step into that era, we just started, really. Like, the age of Aquarius literally just started. So it might take us time. But I think the reason everyone's talking about 2027, 2030 is because this year's year 9 from numerological perspective. This is the year of completion. So we completed a lot of cycles, karmic cycles, programs, things are just shutting down. Like we literally, as you and I are recording, we in the eclipse season right now, really intense one. Things are just like burning through. We have solar eclipse. So there's all these things happening where on an energetic level, things are just completing and dissolving. And then next year, 2026, actually is year 1, where the foundation of this new earth reality, whatever we want to call it, is going to start building. And we get to choose what kind of reality we want to build. Like what are the foundations of this reality and the pillars and values, and the things that we see right now in the collective and the questioning that's happening about violence, about, moral code, about all of it is great because we on the consciousness level starting to stir up a little bit and ask, you know, because politics, what is it doing? It's constantly dividing us. So I'm very much in the camp of neutrality, and that's my role. I've been sitting in this camp for a long time because I'm also able to see the macro perspective of what's happening on Earth from the perspective of the beings that I interact with, and they also watching us. And I think by 2030 we might have physical contact. So in terms of disclosure and connection, if we continue to raise our vibration collectively, we might be ready for that. That might be really interesting. When I talk to the beings that I interact with, whether it's Andromedans, Arcturians, um, it's a shift in timeline right now. No one really can say for sure. It all depends where we all collectively, um, yeah, reach to. So 2027, they also talk about these children, new children that are going to be born, and these children are going to be very different than the children before. So there is some sort of frequency change that will happen on Earth. But and we are, I mean, we have to understand cosmologically, we're moving through right now photonic belt. We're moving closer and closer to the galactic center. We're getting bombarded by the sun's solar flares and geomagnetic storms, which are great because what is all of that? That's light, right? We get in so much light particles right now on Earth like never before. And since we are quantum, we are light ourselves. Like now the study of quantum biology is becoming more popular. And I studied it myself, like mitochondria, which is the organelle in our cells that gives us energy, is actually very multidimensional. I write about it in my book, when you have hair standing, when you have that aha moment and we say, oh, chills, I feel chills, or your hair stands up when you have that like moment of like truth, what is really responding? That's that's your mitochondria actually. That's like on the cellular level. And so everything is changing internally right now. Like we morph in these uh, light particles are changing us. And so there's some sort of mutation happening, and because we able to hold more and more light. And sometimes people have hard time on the physical level, like when there are solar storms coming through, people like literally have what some people call ascension symptoms. I don't like that word so much, but it's like fatigue or this and that. It's because this hardware is just catching up, right? It's catching up to all that light it's receiving. The metaphor I love to give everyone, imagine when you open in your browser, like I'm looking at my browser right now. Oh my God, I have like 30 tabs open. And my processor on this computer right now is probably having a hard time like keeping it all open and plus being with Jeremy on StreamYard recording this, right? So I probably need to go and close my tabs. And when I close my tabs, the processing is going to be easier. And sometimes it's so bad that you have to reboot the computer all entirely. That's us. Imagine you are that computer. If you have too many programs open and you're running too many scripts, and sometimes there's traumas, ancestral traumas, all these background programs, or your consciousness is tied to too many news channels or whatever, and it's cluttered. you have a lot of tabs open, you don't have space. So your physical body is having a hard time keeping up with it and holding all of that. So I recommend to close tabs. I recommend to reboot once in a while, disconnect completely from social media, go on a hike in nature. Like we need to take care of ourselves and create space in our field, in our body to allow more of those light particles to be part of us. So yeah, that's my advice.
which makes sense. But and well, actually, let's. You mentioned your book. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the audience about your book and what made you want to write it, and basically what it covers?
Yeah, mastering quantum creation, awaken the phoenix within, manifest your reality, and reclaim your cosmic power. So it's a combination of a lot of these things you and I touched on, but through my journey as well. And I basically split it into three parts: remembering, expansion, and mastery. And the premise is really that you are a master quantum creator. You an infinite creator. We are all creator all the time. We're just not aware of it. And so if we are creators, then we have to remember how to create and how to reconnect to our energy flow, to our kundalini energy, to our language, right? So I have a chapter on source language. I talk about the galactic history and just maybe start to be curious about, oh, I have these qualities. Maybe this is the star system I'm from, and just kind of go into these different rabbit holes. So I cover a lot about the quantum science and a lot of the research that's been done and sacred geometry. I have a whole chapter on sacred geometry. So I give different foundations to understanding that we are quantum, right? We are quantum selves. And what does that mean? And what do we take? Because I believe when we talk about the future, Jeremy, like this is where we're going. Like those of us who really recognize and accept that we are quantum on all the levels and we activate ourselves fully, then this new reality we're going into, which is really to be part of the Galactic Federation, like these beings are going to show up and all these things are going to pop for us. We'll be ready for it because we'll be much more connected. So, my premise of the book is to awaken the phoenix within. What's the phoenix? The phoenix is, as you're probably familiar, is the bird that kind of goes into the fire, right? It burns what's not serving and it resurrects itself into a much more resilient and beautiful version. And that's really what I've been trying to start the book with through my journey. It's like we are constantly going through this process of resurrection. We unpeeling layers of ourselves that not serving us, whether it's a job that's not serving us, a relationship that was toxic, or habits that we were doing, and a new version is getting created. And so we have to step into that place of emotional mastery, recognizing different emotions we are processing, what serves us, what doesn't, what's a trauma, what's not a trauma, doing the work and then stepping into this place of like, this is where I am and this is the journey I'm on and constantly, improving yourself, but making yourself lighter, really, and connecting yourself more and more to this field of information that's around you. Then, really, at the end of the day, we're reclaiming our cosmic power. Like I was mentioned before, like we just forgot, and now it's time for us to really remember who we are. Like Jeremy, you're Arcturian, beautiful, powerful beings in this galaxy, and what does it mean to be an Arcturian, and what qualities can you bring into your current life, because the current life is what matters the most. So that's kind of my it's a book to inspire, and it's a compilation of a lot of information out there, but in a way through the stories. So because stories is what matters, through my own stories of my clients, to inspire others. And I have beautiful questions at the end of each chapter, and different meditations, even some on my website that goes with the book. And the audiobook is coming out soon too. So those who have hard time reading can soon enough listen to it as an audiobook. It's
Oh, there you go.
Thank
Oh,
you. Yeah.
there you go, folks. And I mean, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing, and some people probably appreciate the audiobook a lot too because that looked like a big book. And I, as
It,
much as a reader as I used to be, Life gets in the way of reading nowadays. I haven't read a freaking book in 5 years, but it's
Yeah, the images are fun though. So, but yeah, you sometimes I know a lot of people are just like driving the car, want to hear it,
uh,
and that was the inspiration to put it into audiobook. And yeah, it just hit bestseller on ebook version
nice.
on Amazon. So obviously people I still reading, if not paperback. I love the paperbacks, but they read in the digital
Same.
version. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am old school. I prefer to hold a book in my hands versus holding my phone in my hand. But convenience outweighs what you want to do sometimes. So I read on Kindle for years before I moved in with kids and stopped having the chance to actually read a book ever. And podcasting also takes away from that too. But it is what it is. I'll get back to it someday. And I have so many books from previous guests on my shelves that were given to me and whatnot that my I have. I just got sent from a future guest. I just got sent a book on past lives that is as thick as an encyclopedia almost, and it's oh my god! I'm like, I will read this one day. I swear to God, I will read this one day. It's just I I don't even have the mind space to incorporate all that
Maybe
right
you
now.
listen to mine because
I,
that's
I
gonna be
actually
available soon. I think October 8th, I'm gonna release that. Literally just finished it and get it mastered. So really wanted to be out there because people asked for the audio. And there's nothing like narrating your own book because you really know the material. And I also, offer meditations and a little bit of activations with light language in each chapter. So it actually integrates. It's not just something you listen to, but then you have a little bit of like an experience as well. And I had my 12-year-old read my book this this summer, and I'm like, I wish I had children. All of them were reading more of that type of material, and were more curious about you know nature, reality, and not just what is being taught in school. So that's a whole rabbit hole of itself. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, I agree with that to some degree. There's just a lot. Yeah, they need to change the curriculum for a lot of what we consider education nowadays. It's getting horrible. But that you're right. That is a rabbit hole and a half. So where can people find you? Where can they find your podcast, your book? Where can people find anything about everything?
yeah. I mean, the best way to start is my website. It's Diana. Well, it's Diana, but it's like dianadivine.com. There's links to my podcast. You can find me also on Instagram, on social media, at Diana M, like a Mary Divine. And same on YouTube. The podcast is there too, as Diana M Divine, on TikTok and all the platforms. It's on Spotify. The podcast is called Soul Communication. So you can easily find that.
There you go, folks, and that'll all be posted, of course, in the description as well, so people can find my guest as always. And I want to thank Deanna for coming on today. It's been a amazing show. I wish I could honestly talk to you for another hour, but
Yeah, thank
unfortunately,
you. Thank you. Yeah, and those who are interested, I have a bunch of workshops online and more coming. I do activations and I work with people in New Jersey if you're ever in New Jersey in person as well. But a lot of things offered online to continue kind of expanding, being curious. And if light language is something you're interested in, you can always DM me. I have also a self-paced course that someone can take with coaching. So it's something that's available. Follow your curiosity and remember you are infinite master creator. Like everything is available for you. Just trust your inner knowing.
well, there you go, folks, and that's actually a beautiful way to end the show. So that's how I'm gonna end it. You all know where to find me. If you don't, check the outro and stop being lazy. Have a good weekend, everybody. I will be back actually this week with some more interviews for you. So see you then.
Much love.
And thank you, Deanna.